Hey, how's it going? I'm Chris with PearsonCopy.com, and I'm here to help your brand to make more sales with email. As a part of my 100 emails in 100 days breakdown challenge, I'm going to be breaking down an email from a brand called PN Medical. This medical company actually sells what's called a respiratory or a breathing device or breathing devices, and they essentially help people with their respiratory issues, and they use a device to help them breathe better or learn how to breathe again if they have any kind of traumatic injuries or anything like that. So, with that being said, this email, as far as I understand it, is not a part of the or is a part of the welcome series, and it's later in the welcome series. But what this email is actually doing is it's giving resources on respiratory muscle training, on breather training, on clinicians getting trained to actually teach this stuff to their patients and offer that to their patients, research on all the research that backs the idea of the breather training, breathing devices, breather university for continuing education courses, and as I list this stuff, you can probably imagine it's like, okay, who's this email for? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to break this email down is the information and the copy. It's actually pretty solid. But the one thing I would say with this email is making all of these separate CTAs. There's a collection. There's the clinicians and there's the patients that they're selling directly to, and the clinicians that they're selling courses or information to that they can turn around and then sell that to their patients and devices and training and things like that. So that's the big reason I wanted to break this down in this welcome series is um, per email have one goal, one focus, one product, etc. Start there, and if it makes sense to add in more stuff, then do that. But start with the one thing per email philosophy here, and I think it's going to get you better results. So, with that being said, let's break this down. The subject line for this: we heard you want to improve your breathing. So, a conversational way to suggest an outcome, suggest a benefit of getting their device. So, very conversational, which I like. It's suggesting an outcome of like improving your breathing. So, they're implying there's a problem here, and that if you want to improve your breathing, this is the email you want to click on. So great subject line to start. And I'll read through this with you and we'll break it down. So hi there, my name is Nadia, and I'm here for you anytime you have questions about our breather products, respiratory muscle training, RMT, how to receive support, how to participate in our live and on-demand events. So the first part of this email I think is great. They're saying, hey, we're here for you if you have questions. And I think they start this email off as like a Q&A email. So when I first read this, I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to read through some Q&As. I'm going to get some common questions about this stuff that they just listed. I'm going to get some answers to maybe some questions I'll come across later or I may have right now. But what this email doesn't do is do a Q&A. They say, if you have any questions about this stuff, let us know. By the way, here's all the CTAs that go to these products or these offers listed out roughly in the order that we just said. Do you have any questions on this stuff? So they switch gears right in the top of the email here, right in the middle of the email. They switch gears and say, hey, go buy your stuff. If you have questions, go buy your stuff, or go check this out, or go read this. And it's like, okay, that's kind of a disconnect. You're setting up the reader to say, hey, do you have questions about this stuff? And they're in a consideration stage now. Like they're like, oh yeah, I do have questions, and they start thinking about the questions they have, and then you say, hey, go click here to go buy this stuff, or go check out the benefits, or you sell to them when you just put them in a question state, right? So that's something that switching gears like this can actually jar some people and say, oh, whoa, I have questions, but you're trying to sell me now. I don't want this back. I'm out. Some people may click through and say, oh, maybe they make the connection and say, oh, if I want to learn about respiratory muscle training, I have questions, maybe I'll just click here to learn more. And the copy does say, hey, go learn the benefits of using this stuff. So there is an intent to get people to click through to learn and answer their own questions. But ultimately what I would do is, if you have questions about our breather products, if you have questions about respiratory muscle training, if you have questions about how to support with all of this, each of these could be categories that you ask 3 to 5 questions in. These all could be their own emails about questions about these things. So from a strategy standpoint, how is PN Medical actually segmenting their list so they can send this stuff to people who showed interest in it already but haven't purchased or bought, and use the Q&A as like an objection handler email, saying, hey, you have this question, here's how we address it, and if you're ready, or here's a bunch of questions, here's a bunch of things that we're addressing those questions. If you're ready, click here to start. If not, let us know, and we'll answer whatever question you have if we didn't cover that today. So yeah, splitting up this email into its respective parts based on these bullet points would actually most likely get better conversions, better clicks, maybe even more bookings, because you're focusing on one thing in this email. So the copy in general, when it comes across this whole email, it works fine. It looks great. It's just the strategy, the higher level piece of this. So let's go down this. With that being said, we have the respiratory muscle training here. You have the complementary breather training here. You have for clinicians, calling all clinicians, rely on the research. So research for the clinicians, for customers, direct to consumer, like research for what, and then Breather University for continuing education, and then try the Breather for yourself. So this is the second big insight. One is the first one was the shifting from, hey, I'm gonna see if you have questions, and then I'm gonna try and sell you something, versus I'm gonna see if you have questions. I'm gonna ask those common questions, answer them, and then ask you to do this one thing instead of saying try all these things. Because from what probably happened is, hey, we have a list. It's not segmented. We know clinicians and direct consumers are going to be in this. We need to send an email that covers both of them. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I understand the strategy and the approach here, but segment your list. Like that's just a simple answer. Segment, so you don't have to try and play the crapshoot or play the roulette game with this and say, hey, I hope if a clinician reads this, they actually get to the clinician stuff at the bottom, even though it's not talking to them. So yeah, that's, and this opener is probably trying to address that of saying, how do we bring them in so they actually look at this stuff, without saying, hey, are you a clinician, or hey, are you a direct customer? How do we keep that general enough so they'll actually read? And the caveat, or like the dark side of that, is if you stay too general, you're actually not going to get anybody's attention. If you're sending an email for everybody, you're sending an email for nobody. And so while you're saying, hey, we have to solve this problem of getting people into the email, this general approach, typically, unless you say, here, questions about X thing, for a customer with this issue or problem, you're going to get less people, you're going to get fewer people actually reading the email. So while I commend the effort, I think that there's a different approach you can take, which is one, segment your list, and two, focus on one thing at a time in each email. But with that being said, that goes into the second big insight for this breakdown, and that is, it looks like it's split into direct customer and clinician. So once you segment these emails for respiratory muscle training for direct customer, complementary breather training for direct customer, these are two separate emails now. You can make the offer. You can send an email that actually goes to the problem, the solution, the mechanism of solution, maybe some reviews, and then CTA them and have them go to this muscle training or the breather training. And you can sell them as separate offers now because you're segmented, and you can send them to your customer list. And you can spend more time actually getting people from their problem stage to the solution stage to consideration into the actual CTA buying or taking action on the thing you're asking them to take action on. Whereas if you keep it general like this, you can't go deep like that and actually get those people that are on the fence or just on the other side of the fence next to the gate. You can't get them off the fence or through the gate to come try your thing because you're not being specific enough to them and what they're dealing with, or what they're managing, what their problem is, and what solutions they've actually considered. So getting more specific typically gets you better results. And when you split these up into clinician and direct consumer, that's going to get you better results over time, because you're being so specific. So yeah, you have the different offers here. The rely on research can go on either side. I think research, if somebody's interested as a consumer or as a clinician, they can go use that. So you can use that in either segment, and then try to breathe it for yourself. So this is a direct CTA to buy a device. And I, like, after reading this, I'm like, I'm not a clinician, so that's not me. But the other things here are like trainings of how to like be better, like how to breathe better, how to deal with certain things. And they're asking me to buy a device. The email's kind of all over the map, even if you just focus on the customer, direct to customer, because it's like, we're going to train you how to do this thing, give you value. Yet we want you to buy a device, but you don't know enough to actually do it. So you need to go to the training. And like, there's this circular loop of like confusion going on here. And so if we can clear up that confusion, I think you're going to get more CTAs. And also too, in all of these trainings, I'd imagine they're saying, hey, buy this device. So do we actually need somebody to go buy a device here if they don't know what's going on yet? Like, should the strategy be get them into the training, because that training is going to sell the device because they actually use it to do the training. So yeah, maybe the strategy here, I do respect the fact that they're CTAing to a product and saying, hey, buy this. A lot of brands don't do that. A lot of brands kind of like indirectly and soft on say, hey, if you're interested, check out our site, instead of saying this specific product is what you should buy. Then yeah, I definitely respect them for CTAing that. But use the training to get them, because if this email is trying to get people that are in the problem stage, they know they have a problem and they're trying to define the problem, but they don't have solutions yet, the training might help. Maybe if they're looking at solutions but they don't know which one to pick, the training might help. So getting them from the problem to solution to consideration, this email is trying to do all of it in one swipe, which you can do if you do it properly. But with the clinician stuff added in, with this stuff being so separate and just kind of disparate and not really connected to each other, I think that could be one of the reasons why your performance is not doing as well as you want it to be. So yeah, with that being said, you have a sign off, you have your information to contact PM Medical, you have your phone information. So yeah, the two big insights here. One, if you lead with the email, if you're gonna do Q&A, do Q&A. If you're gonna do a story, do a story. If you're gonna try and direct pitch something, do a direct pitch. Trying to mix these I think is going to cause more confusion than anything. Second thing is segment your list so that you can send these emails to those specific segments. One, direct to consumer, and two, to the clinicians. And you can keep those separate, and you speak to them totally different. And the reasons those people are going to buy are totally different. So yeah, segmented the list is a huge thing on this one. That's the second big insight. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this email. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm here to help with your emails. Please check out the other videos on my YouTube channel. Have over 90, upwards of 100 at the time of this recording, that all pull out different insights from brand emails like this one, so you can take back to your brand and make more sales with email. In the meantime, thanks for watching.